This is the Anton Ivanov interview. Take one in 3, 2, 1. In this show, we're going to speak with Anton Ivanov, CEO of the Rentcast software platform, to discuss how you can do proper analysis on your rental properties. Let's go. Coming back in 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I am your host and foreclosure deals coach, Donnie Corum, and this is the show where we discuss how to find, figure, fund, fix, and flip your first deal, but no investment portfolio is complete without having a solid rental portfolio. As a matter of fact, what I teach my coaching clients is on their first deal, they should be doing a fix and flip to get a taste of what it's like to do a deal and pocket the minimum profit that we're looking for with my coaching at $25,000. But after that first deal is done, you got to take a real good look at your portfolio and determine the best way to start buying cash flow properties like rentals to add to the portfolio. With that in mind, I am honored to bring Anton Ivanov onto the show. Anton, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing great, Donnie. Love the energy. Thanks for having me on your show again.
Hey man, I love having you on the show. The first show we did together was discussing the Dealcheck platform, and one of the most watched shows we've ever done. A lot of people tuned in. A lot of people reached out to me to talk about Dealcheck. But today, we're discussing a whole new product today. Can you tell me a little bit more about Rentcast and what it can do for investors?
Absolutely. So Rentcast is our kind of sister platform that we started, following the success of Dealcheck and what we learned with that. And it's geared specifically towards rental property investors as well as property managers that manage properties. And what we actually found both in my own portfolio, so me and my wife, we own about 40 rental properties across a few states. And then, I talk to a lot of investors all the time. With rental properties, kind of cash flow is one of your main sources of income, obviously. Sure. And cash flow is pretty simple to calculate. Once you kind of boil it down, it's your rent that you collect minus your expenses. And people kind of understand the expense side. It makes sense. If I cut my expenses down a little bit, I will make more money. But what we found a lot of investors and property managers kind of neglect, especially with larger portfolios, is keeping up with the increasing the rental income as kind of the markets appreciate, the rental markets go up in value, and they're basically leaving money on the table. And there's something to be said, obviously, for having good tenants and not being too aggressive with rent increases. But we wanted to build a platform that is specifically designed to help you maximize your rental income, whether you're just an investor yourself, you're managing a few rental properties that you bought, or you're a property manager that manages a larger portfolio of your unit. Sometimes it's very easy to kind of get in the habit, let me just renew the lease at the same rate. Let me just, add $50, $100 to the rental, income a year. And you're not really following the market, right? The rents could be double the price. Like I've actually had my own property managers that kind of, properties that I didn't forget, but maybe I just kind of put on the back burner. They're doing their thing. I'm focusing on other stuff. I check in on them on a few years later, and I'm like, hey, what are we renting this for? They're like, oh, I don't know, $1,500. I do a little rent comp analysis, and the rents are more like $2,000, $2,200, right? Sure. So we're potentially leaving out thousands of dollars of cash flow per property when that happens. So that's kind of, I would say, the main goal of Rentcast, and I'll showcase a few other features that we've built around that. I'll actually start sharing my screen here in a little bit.
Sorry, continue.
We really wanted investors to kind of have the data, the rental data, the rent estimates, the rental comps, which are not easy to find. There's kind of property value estimates you can get maybe on Zillow or other platforms, but as far as like, hey, what should I rent my property for? Whether it's a new property that you just bought or you're leasing existing properties, there's not that many tools out there. And some that are the data is just not that high quality. So we wanted to build a platform that's really data focused. We spent a lot of time on our rent estimation and kind of algorithms of how we collect this data to give you the most accurate rent estimates, again, so you're not leaving money on the table, so you can keep up with rental market trends. and basically get much more efficient with leasing new properties, researching new rental markets, and really maximizing your cash flow. Because ultimately, again, with the rental portfolio, you can only cut your expenses by so much, but on the income side, the potential upside is kind of limitless, provided the market can support it. And we wanted to build a few tools around that to help investors really succeed and grow their profits that way.
I love that, Anton, and I say this in the most affectionate way possible, but has anybody called you a data nerd?
We have heard that. Well, it's funny. So we did talk a lot about Dealcheck,
Right.
And I remember we did that little demo where we actually priced the property and looked at comps and stuff like that. Yeah, and this is a big part, with kind of the modern age. We felt that data, accurate data, be that property data, listing data, rent estimates, value estimates, comps, it's essential both for investors, just to have that data accessible,
Yes.
as well as when you're using platforms like ours, to be able to see that data, and we provide you the most accurate data possible. So yeah, we are kind of data nerds. We pride ourselves on that.
I would say hardcore data nerds. And here's the thing, and it's a good thing because I'm a data nerd myself. But when you really break real estate down to its pieces, Anton, would you agree that it's a data-driven business, right? In the end, the residential people who are buying a house to live in, they have to drive off emotion and feelings and paint colors and kitchen sizes and raising kids, etc. But you and I, as investors in the marketplace, with you with 40 rentals, you had to become a data nerd to really thrive in this industry. Would you agree with that?
No, absolutely. It all comes down to numbers, whether you're buying rental properties, you're leasing existing properties, whether you're flipping homes, you're wholesaling homes. It all really comes down to numbers. And actually, to be a successful investor, I think you need to leave emotions and kind of personal feelings aside and really focus on data, not get attached to any one deal. If the numbers don't work, they don't work. Move on, find something else. Absolutely. I think having access to data and be able to kind of analyze and visualize and understand what the data is telling you is absolutely key to be successful with real estate, whether it's investing, you're an agent, wholesaler, flipper, or like us, you're building platforms for real estate investors.
Yeah, and here's the thing, the data's gotten expensive. I mean, you look at the absence of finding data, going back to Dealcheck for a brief structure, to get the level of comparable data that your platform offers in Dealcheck, you would need to get your license, pay your board dues, pay your annual MLS fees, right? Just to get access to that data. You're offering that for a fraction of the cost. And now, at least here in my market, we have this thing called Rental Beast, okay? And Rental Beast is a beast, and not in a good way, but rather the worst platform I've ever had to deal with as far as trying to extract rental comp data from the system. So now enter Rentcast, your platform here, allowing investors to take back that data and make decisions based on investing in a property for the long term. This is really filling a huge void in the market. How long has Rentcast been out on the market? How long has it been functional?
So we started Rentcast in 2020, so we're going on 3 years. Started with, again, a small little demo team, demo platform, and now it's expanded. It got fairly big, fairly popular, again, both among real estate investors, property managers. And kind of to piggyback on your point about rental data, actually a new product we launched through Rentcast, and again, I'll touch on that in a little bit, is we now sell our property data at extremely reasonable costs. The raw data. So if you're kind of a data nerd like us, maybe you have your own integrations, you're using a little Zapier or some macros, you want to pull data into your CRM systems or other products, or even if you're building, kind of real estate apps or other projects, we now can sell you, our rental data, our sales comp data, a lot of the same data you see in our platforms and that you can view on our website. We basically wholesale it at extremely reasonable cost. So if you just need access to the raw data, and kind of in large quantities, maybe you want to look up rent estimates in batches for thousands of properties, your big operation. We offer an API, which is kind of a programmatic way to access all of this data. And that's been super popular because if you compare our costs to other providers, it's like night and day.
I love that. And again, access to data is critical. It's been very limited to the real estate agent market, but now with the I guess, decentralization of real estate, largely started with Zillow, right? As much as we don't like Zillow overall, but Zillow was kind of the first aggregator that gave the data to the people. And now it feels like you've taken that data and really made it investor focused.
Exactly.
For people who are looking to make money in the real estate industry, which I think is absolutely incredible. Good for you.
Absolutely, Donnie.
I'm dying to see this platform. Can we hop into Rentcast? Can you show me around a little bit? Show the viewers around a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
These functions.
Yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to pop my screen up. Yeah, so we are on the Rentcast kind of homepage. You can find us if you just go rentcast.io on any browser or on mobile. Again, you can look up a little bit, read a little bit more about our features. We're a data platform that's focused, again, for real estate investors and property managers. And some of the highlights we offer, obviously, at the core of our product offering are our rent estimates that are based on comparable rental listings. So we pretty much look at all of the rental properties being listed in each market. We collect millions of properties every day. And then when you look up rent estimates for your homes or the homes you're considering buying, or maybe if you're a property manager, you're leasing these properties, we're able to give you an exact number for what we think that home will look like if you rented it, as well as show an actual list of comparable properties nearby, their sizes, their layouts, so you can compare how your rental stacks up against them. We also offer rental market trends. So this is a great feature and very popular, both for investors and property managers. Basically, if you're researching in new markets, it's often helpful to see, hey, where's the rents going? Are they increasing? Are they decreasing? Are they stagnant? Is this kind of an up and coming market where there's a lot of potential? Or is this a more saturated area with a ton of rental properties that I'm, maybe have a harder time getting into? So we provide a lot of data, aggregate based on each zip code that you look up to help you view that. And then on top of it, we provide a suite of portfolio tracking tools. So when you do buy those properties, and like I mentioned earlier, they're not just kind of sitting on your back burner. You can actually get weekly or yearly, or however you want to set it up, emails with, hey, if it's time to renew your rents, renew your tenants, renew the leases, here's what the market rents should be. Here's all of the data that you can use to make your leasing decisions. Because as I mentioned before, I've had property managers who just get in this rut of, adding a little bit each year, or sometimes just keeping rents the same. And that's great for, tenant satisfaction and retention. But long term, you have to be cognizant with, if the rents are potentially double, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And we want to give you the tools to maximize your rental income, which in turn would maximize your cash flow and profits. So again, rentcast.io, head on our website. There's a lot of kind of descriptions of the various features. I'll just briefly touch on pricing. Our pricing is extremely competitive. Again, like Donnie said, we're offering this data access to all of this, suite of tools for, a cost of a couple coffee cups a month, or you can just start for free on our free plan. There's a few limitations like how many properties you can add, but it's fully featured. You can look up rents and comps and stuff like that. So great way to get started. Don't need a credit card. And then if you do decide to upgrade to our Rentcast Pro plan at some point, it's already cheap, but specifically for Donnie's listeners, we have a promo code. It's DEAL, DEAL. And if you use that promo code DEAL, you will get 20% off your Rentcast Pro subscription for life. So again, tons of features, low cost. That's what we're all about, because we want to make these tools accessible to all of the investors, even those just starting out. So jumping over to our actual platform, again, just click create account or my portfolio up at the top. You'll be taken to our homepage, and this is the bread and butter. This is where you can type in any property address in the United States, select what features they are to kind of help you narrow down the rental estimate. We'll pick one of these properties I already searched for, and you will get the snapshot of the rental market around that house, what we think the rent should be. So for this property, it's $1,620 a month. We'll give you kind of the per square foot, per bedroom, our high and low estimates to about where we think the rental estimate would fall based on our algorithm. Again, it's a proprietary formula that we've developed over many years, actually working on our Dealcheck platform, because we wanted to have investors, when they're analyzing rental properties with Dealcheck, running their cash flow projections, the rent that you use is a crucial figure. If you get this number wrong, if you think, hey, this property can rent for $2,000 a month, but really it's only going to rent for $1,700.
Right.
You may end up buying it, and then when you actually go to lease it, you realize, hey, this is not going to work at all, but you're already stuck with that property. So very important to look up rent estimates, both when you're buying investment properties, and you're going to rent them out, just so you're not overestimating the rent. But again, and as I said, on the flip side, if you are leasing, if this is already a property that you own, it's a few years down the road, you started at 1620, chances are, if this is a good market, rent prices are going up. A few years, it might be 18, might be 2000, and you don't want to be stuck renting this property for 1600, because that's thousands of dollars a year you're leaving on the table, right? And again, with the rent estimates, you will see a map. You will see kind of where all the comps lay. You'll get a list of all the comparable properties, when they were listed, for how much, their size. So you can kind of compare. And this is a great way to kind of get a feel for, like, hey, what are these properties renting for? Are they a little bigger, a little smaller to my property? So these are your typical comps. Again, we just present a nice way to look at them. So you have all that information. And then I mentioned we provide market reports. Again, this is a great way to not just focus on a specific property and what its rent and comparable should be, but look at the market as a whole. So for example, where have the average rental rates in this market has gone? As you can see right here, we kind of see a nice steady increase over time. Nothing too crazy. This is Atlanta. So this is a Midwest kind of more linear market. You might see higher rent growth in kind of your more cyclical coastal areas like California or the East Coast, but you might see bigger drops, where here it's kind of a steady increase, which, at least to me as an investor, is indicative of a good market. We do want to see rents go up steady over time. We don't want to see flat rates or obviously go down. And then you can kind of filter by different property sizes, different types, different time frames. And then we provide, again, a ton of data, how the trends changed over time. What's like the 6-year change, 1-year change? What is the market composition? This is actually a cool report that I really like. I haven't seen a lot of platforms do this. It basically shows you what is the most common, bedroom sizes, property sizes in their area. Like over here, you see the 3 bedrooms, and kind of 2 bedrooms are the most common. Why this is important is a lot of times, especially maybe if you're buying turnkey properties or you're not very familiar with the market, you're out of state, you might get stuck into buying like a 1-bedroom home or maybe even a higher bedroom home. And a lot of markets, those properties are harder to rent. If this is kind of a suburban area where it's families with kids predominantly, they're looking for that 2-3 bedroom kind of homes, probably nothing too big, but they're definitely not looking for a studio. You can see studio here is just 1 out of 156 listings. There's probably are some studio or condo developments there, but it's hard to say who they're targeting. You might have a harder time renting those properties out. So when I talk to other investors that are getting into a new market, I always tell them, hey, at least look at like what is the most common property type in the area, because this is a very good indication of what people are actually looking for to rent. So if you're in there, I think you'll have a much bigger chance to get that property rented quick. It's not sitting on the market than if you have a really big property or really small property compared to everything else that just kind of does not fit what the typical family or an individual is looking for to rent in that market. So again, this is our rental comps, market reports. You can obviously download these, kind of add your branding if you're sharing this with your clients, or if you're a property manager, you'd like to send this to the owners, or if you're just looking for a report, one click, you get a beautifully formatted PDF with maps, with the rent estimate, with the comparable properties that I mentioned, as well as kind of your market report. So these are great if you have partners that you invest with, you'd like to send them a report, or if you're a property manager. We have tons of property managers that use this kind of as an offering for their owners. The owner will be like, hey, what is kind of the average rent for my area? What should we rent the property for? The property manager doesn't have to guess. They can one click in Rentcast, download this report, send it to the owner. It can be fully white labeled with your branding and stuff like that. So great feature to have if you're a business owner. And then we do have a portfolio tracking feature that I kind of mentioned earlier. And what this allows you to do, so looking up rents, ahead of time when you're buying the properties is great. After you bought your rental property, add it to your Rentcast portfolio. It'll kind of go into the save view. You'll get a nice picture, and and it will track the rent of this property over time for you. So not only can you come back and look at its current rent estimate over time, but you also get this cool graph where if you add your leases, it will actually show you how your current rent compares to the estimated rent. So the blue line here in this picture is the lease rent. So this property is currently leased for $1,750 a month. It looks like we haven't renewed the lease for about a little over a year. So this is the exact scenario that I was talking about earlier. Maybe we have great tenants here, but as you can see, we're keeping the rent the same, again, the blue line, but the estimated rent, the green line, is trending up. So the market rents in this area where this property is located have gone up. And you see the spread here, the difference between the two lines, about $300. And once this gets to, $300, $400, $500, even sometimes more, this is a very good indication that, hey, I get it. I have great tenants, but I am leaving a lot of money on the table. I kind of want to see these lines trend together, basically. I want my current rent that I'm leasing the property for to match the estimated rent. And we provide a beautiful graph to do this. And on top of that, as I mentioned, you can save, you can set up little alerts and notifications that will actually send you an email, for example, when, your estimated rent reaches a target, or when maybe the estimated rent goes like 20% above your current lease or something like that, or just get an update every 3 months, every quarter, once a year, just to help you keep eyes on this property, because again, when investors like myself, we get to 10, 20, 40 properties, it's a lot of properties that you manage. It's easy to overlook each one specifically, but if you're getting email updates, you're always staying on top of this. You don't have to guess. You will know when the lease renewal comes around. Hey, let me pop it in Rentcast really quick. Let me see what the current rent target should be, and then you make your determination. Maybe you don't lease it for quite that much. If again it's a good tenant, you want to keep it a little under market, but at the same time, you keep increasing it a little bit every year to make sure you keep pace with what the market is doing. So, and then the last thing, Donnie, that I mentioned is our property data API. Again, this is a little bit different product. So what I showed you is our website. It's great. You can track your properties, look up rents, look up comps, market trends. If you are a data nerd, and I love that term, I'm going to use it. I'm going to put it in my bio.
You need to, man.
I'm going to put it in my bio.
It suits you.
If you're a data nerd like ourselves, and you love this data, and not just rental data. So this is the data you see in Dealcheck, property values and listing data, owner data, property record data, like the basic property information. So if you're a data nerd and you say, hey, it would be great if I had access to this data. Maybe I have, an Excel spreadsheet that I've worked on for years, and I've built, and I'm savvy a little bit with code, and I want to bring some actual real-time property data into my Excel spreadsheet. Zapier, a very popular automation tool where you can basically, you can connect Zapier to other apps, CRM systems. Maybe you're already tracking your properties with Podi or something like that, and you just want to hook up our data or rent estimates, property value estimates. We offer all of our data at wholesale for extremely reasonable costs. Again, this includes your property records, your structural attributes, tax assessment history, owner details, your value and rent AVMs, which is the kind of automated valuation model. So rent estimates, value estimates, active listings. This is MLS quality data that we provide with no broker, no realtor license necessary nationwide. It's huge. Like you can, before you have, if you want nationwide, you would have to get thousands of brokers licenses. It's just not sustainable. Or, if you're a broker, you just get your little few zip codes, your little county, stuff like that. We offer nationwide listing data for all 50 states. This is your active both sale and rental listings. Rental listings, by the way, is not even really on MLS because most people don't put their rental properties on the MLS.
That is very hard to find.
Yeah. Exactly. But we offer that data nationwide. And then all the same rental market trends, average rent statistics, stuff like that. So we offer all of this in a very nice to easy to use API package. There's no contracts, no commitments. There's no salespeople you have to deal with like some of the bigger vendors like CoreLogic that, you get put in some pipeline and you have to sign this, sign that. No, the thousands of dollars. No, we offer this for less than $500 on our highest plan, that out of our standard plans. This includes 25,000 requests a month. So you get access to all of the data. The only difference between the plans is just the volume of how much data you need. and that's it. You can switch between the plans. These, again, I guarantee you will not find a provider that can beat these prices for the quality and the volume of the data we offer. So again, free to get started. There's a free plan, includes 50 free API calls per month, and we have super great documentation. This is, again, very nerdy stuff. But we describe all of the little data pieces that you actually get. We have explanation of our endpoints, query parameters, kind of sample code samples. So if you want to play around with this and make a free account, it's all on the same website, on our Rentcast website. And then you can see how you can integrate this data with your apps, CRMs, or even just Excel, Zapier, stuff like that. So again, we want to offer as many tools, as many levels of access to our data for those who just want to use our website, our portfolio tracking tools, rent estimates, fantastic. Rentcast.io, head over there. And then again, check out our API if you're a little more kind of data nerdy, savvy with coding, and you want to see how you can integrate our data directly into your apps.
I love that. Again, the power of data and the giving the power to the people who have the coding knowledge to do that. Obviously, a lot of people do not. So one of the things we offer with the coaching assessment is a full evaluation of your portfolio, including this rental analysis using Rentcast, obviously, and including looking at your property portfolio and seeing where we might be able to tap that equity that you've already got to get you into doing more foreclosure deals. So the fact that we offer this to the masses, some people are a little less comfortable orchestrating the data themselves. So in that situation, I would be honored to step in and help out and help them do that analysis using this software and build out their portfolio and let them manage it long term. Right now, they've got a tool where they can put it all together. I can help them set it up, and now they've got that tool available to them to watch and make sure their rental income is where it needs to be. Anton, what an incredible tool! Let's pop off the screen a little bit. I want to talk to you about the investing market overall. We're heading into an interesting time frame. Foreclosures are starting to mount up a little bit. This tool is going to be great for people who are doing buy and hold. You have 40 rentals. So obviously, it took you a while to build that portfolio. But if you're a new investor today, entering the market, are you more looking today at flipping, wholesaling, or buy and hold? What would you advise somebody hopping into the market right now?
I actually like your strategy of using flips as a generator for cash flow to build you some initial cash flow and then put that money into long-term rental properties. I think that's, it solves two things. One is a lot of investors that want to build wealth and buy rental properties have a lack of initial funding. And you do need funding. Whether using financing, buying cash, you'll always need to put some money down. There's need to be money for repairs, for maintenance, for allocation, for kind of reserves and stuff like that. So if you're, kind of already not in the best situation, you don't have a lot of savings, I think actually starting with a few flips or even a few wholesales, if you kind of have the time, I think wholesale is potentially a little slower. You're not making as much money on each wholesale deal, but if you kind of have the dedication, you work with Donnie, you build a lead generation, a pipeline system, and kind of start generating a bit of income, or you get into flipping. You could flip a few homes, and that can give you, potentially $100,000+ that you can then put into long-term rental properties. I think that's a fantastic strategy, especially if you don't have a lot of starting down capital. Now, when you shift to buying rental properties, it is a tough market now. Like there's really, I can't say it any other way. The rates are extremely high. The prices still have not come down. We've kind of been on a crazy appreciation cycle in most states since really like 2010, 2011. It hasn't really slowed. I suspect the prices will soften a little bit. There's always a lag. If the economy is not doing as great, there's inflation, the rates are high, and the prices have been going up for years. Before that, there's usually like a 6 to 12 month, in my experience, delay between you'll see the prices to come down. Would I wait for that? Well, if you're doing a few flips and wholesales now, that's perfect because that gives you a little bit of time. If you spend a few years doing that, built up your little nest egg or your little cash cushion, your reserves, and then a few years from now, if I had to guess, prices would be a little softer, rates might come down a little bit. That might be a perfect time for you to start, which you would have done anyway because you needed some down capital. If you already have down capital now, I think it is still possible to find cash flowing good investment properties. I would just, my biggest suggestion and why me and my wife have been so successful is focus on which markets you're buying the properties for. Even if you're paying a high premium for a property, basically buying it at market value, maybe inflated prices. And maybe if you run your cash flow projections now, they're just lackluster, maybe $100 a month or something like that. You're
Sure.
like, that's not that great. If you buy in a market, excuse me, that sees strong economic growth, strong population growth, basically it's a thriving city or state. It's kind of got a good diverse economy, diverse job growth. What will happen is in 5 to 10 years, it is almost guaranteed that both home values and rents will appreciate. Like, for example, Atlanta, we use that as an example when I was looking up rent estimates. We own a few properties there. It's a great kind of more linear, more steady growing market, but it's a big city, diverse job growth, diverse economy. We've seen prices and rents grow very steady, about 5 to 6% a year for the last 10 years. That's likely to continue. So if you buy property now, the cash flow is not looking that great. There's a high chance, if the market is right for that, 5-10 years down the road, the property will be much more valuable. So you will gain equity and obviously increase your ROI that way. But also the rents will be much higher. And if you use something like Rentcast to keep up with the rental trends, now your cash flow is magnitudes higher than what you started with. So again, for new investors now, it's a tough market. I would say focus on where you're buying, where your properties. Don't look at the cheapest markets like a lot of people look at Indy or Ohio or something like that. You can buy a property there still for like probably 60,000, grand, but chances are 5-10 years down the road, it'll be worth the same. Your maintenance, taxes, insurance will be higher and rent will be flat. And long term, you're making no money on the property. Pay a little more now, even if the cash flow will be a little less, but if it's a growing market appreciating over time as a long-term rental investor, you will do much better.
I love that. And it really is looking for the long term. One of the things you said that really hit me was over the next few years, right? People are always trying to get into real estate investing as some kind of get rich quick scheme. No. When the reality is this portfolio, how long did it take you to build your portfolio to 40 units?
We've been doing this since 2013, so we're going on 10 plus years. It's like you said, it's steady. It's especially at the beginning, it's very slow. It is not get rich quick scheme. It's more of a consistent, analytical approach to investing, right? Like at the beginning we touched on, don't bring emotions. Start with one property, $100 cash flow. 10 properties, that's $1,000 cash flow a month, and so on. It builds over time. And not only that, but you learn from your mistakes, you get better and better. I think real estate is a very kind of hands-on thing. It's you can read books, you can do a lot of studying, but once you actually start doing deals, buying properties, you're going to learn so much more and become a more sophisticated investor.
And that's the goal, right? This is a skill set to build wealth, right? And all true wealth building requires that you learn something. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of charlatans out there in the coaching industry who are trying to make this seem like it's easy. The only thing that's easy is taking action, right? But when the action is going to pay off, that really depends on a lot of circumstances, and it really is a long-term. And I love that, not only are you're not only selling data, but you're actually living what the data does for you, right?
Exactly.
And that's so important that you actually created a product around your needs. Dealcheck was revolutionary. We use it every single day in my business to help my clients. And now with Rentcast, I'm certain that as we're evaluating existing rental portfolios, because like you said, getting into the rental market right now may not make the most sense. It depends on your market, et cetera, because things are so expensive. But knowing if you already have rentals, being able to evaluate those with actual market data, without a property manager who's trying to get the contract to do it and maybe swaying the numbers a little bit, you can look at your own analysis of property data, and then in lieu of both of those things, bringing in an expert like myself to walk you through your portfolio so we can really evaluate what you need to do with those properties, increase the rent, sell them off, refinance them, et cetera, to maximize your returns in the current market is so important right now.
Couldn't agree more, Donnie.
Hey, well, Anton, as always, it's been an honor to have you on the show, man. The Rentcast is going to be a game changer for real estate investors once again. Like, you've done it again, buddy. Like it's number 2 for you. Well,
thank you, my friend.
Of Rentcast and Dealcheck. What are you going to do next? What's the project horizon look like?
I don't know if we have a new platform coming up. We're pretty happy with where we are. We have a ton of features that we're planning to add to both Rentcast and Dealcheck. Okay. And I think I mentioned it before in your show. We're super open to feedback and suggestions. So if you guys do use either of our platforms, contact our support, send us a message or an email. If you feel like something's missing, can be improved. We're very customer focused, customer feedback focused. That's one of the reasons why I think our platforms have been so successful. We love adding features that people actually want and use, and not just something that, hey, I came up with one evening or something like that. So no, we're going to keep going. We have a tons more stuff planned for both platforms. We just want to make them as the best possible.
Well, and it's amazing. The real estate technology has changed so drastically. You are a forefront of that, Anton, and it's an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. Love to have you back down the road so we can get you back in front of the listeners. Is there anything you'd like to add in closing as we wrap this up today?
That was great being here, Donnie. Again, I will just reiterate, don't be afraid to start small. I don't remember if I mentioned it on the last show. I love that advice. Whether you're flipping, wholesaling, getting into rental properties, it's easy to kind of look at the big dogs, or people have, multi-million-dollar portfolios, say, hey, I want to be there next year. It's a slow process. Like we've mentioned, it's a slow process. It starts with one deal. It starts with your first $100 a month, cash flow. Starts with your first $5,000 wholesaling check, or, your $20,000 flip or something like that. Start working with somebody like Donnie, get under the wing of somebody who's been around. But do start taking action. But again, don't be afraid of small steps. Every small step will lead you to bigger, better things. And eventually you'll kind of look back and you'll be like, wow, it's crazy how far I've come. But again, it starts small. It's not a get rich quick scheme.
I love that, Anton. Thank you so much. Thanks again for being on the show. And guys, you heard it right here. Go check out Rentcast. My affiliate code for Rentcast is going to be DEAL. So I'd really appreciate if you sign up. Please use the affiliate code. I will have the link below for you to get signed up for that and start doing your own rental property analysis. We're definitely going to have Anton back on the show down the road. And this is the time to take action. We've got a lot of stuff changing in the market. Whether you're buying rentals or you're buying your first flip, you got to get going. As Anton mentioned, start small. If you want to get going, I'd love to hop on a coaching assessment call with you to determine if real estate investment coaching, foreclosure deals coaching specifically, is the right fit for you in your investment market right now. With that, this is Donnie Corum, your foreclosure deals coach. Thanking you so much for tuning in each and every week to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast, and reminding you now and always, don't buy a house, buy a deal.